Would like to call to order the March 18th, 2024 Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please join me for a moment of silence for our invocation. Thank you. Okay, first up is approval of or correction of our minutes. You all have copies of those in front of you. Do I hear of any corrections or a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next up is the approval of the agenda. You all have a copy of that before you. I would make one addition, and that is in item number 4 under recognitions and presentations, and that will be a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda, including the changes on page 45 and the one addition I just mentioned?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We would like to welcome our youth commissioner with us tonight. If you would key up your mic and tell us your name and anything else you'd like to add.
Hello, my name is Owais Kamran. I am a senior at Central Cabarrus High School, currently sitting for youth commissioners, such as related to teens that will try to improve, related to any issues with Cabarrus County, and meet with elected local commissioners. So it's a little bit about myself, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Glad to have you with us tonight. Okay, we move now to recognitions and presentations. First up is a proclamation declaring National County Government Month, April of 2024. And I will read that proclamation. National County Government Month, April 2024, Counties Matter. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 330 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties fulfill a vast range of responsibilities and deliver services that touch nearly every aspect of our residents' lives, and whereas Cabarrus County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas under the leadership of the National Association of Counties, President Mary Jo McGuire, NACO is highlighting county leadership through the lens Forward Together, celebrating the role of county governments in connecting, inspiring, and leading as intergovernmental partners, and whereas that role includes a responsibility to inspire county residents to engage with their communities and to lead by highlighting our strength as intergovernmental partners, and whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to evaluate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services, and now therefore Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2024 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion to approve it as presented?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move to item 2, proclamation for National Donate Life Month, April 2024. And I will call on Vice Chairman Hsu to read that proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see a good crowd here tonight, and I get to do this every year now for 10 years, and so it's an honor for me to tell you about the proclamation of the National Donate Life Month, whereas more than 100,000 men, women, and children in the United States currently need life-saving organ transplants, and more than 3,950 of those people are North Carolinians. And whereas an average of 17 people awaiting transplants die each day because there is a severe shortage of donated organs, and whereas every 9 minutes another name is added to the National Transplant Waiting List, and whereas providing facts about donation and dispelling misinformation and myths are key to increasing the number of people who sign up as donors. And whereas the North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles, North Carolina DMV, plays a critical role with over 5 million North Carolinians in the state's donor registry, having registered when receiving a driver's license or a state ID. And whereas one organ donor can save the lives of up to 8 people and improve more lives through tissue and cornea donation. And whereas North Carolinians are encouraged to get the facts about donation, discuss their wishes with their family, and sign up as donors via the North Carolina DMV or online at www.donatelife.org/register. And whereas residents of Cabarrus County have been touched by donations as recipients of life-saving transplants as members of donor families who have literally given others a second chance at life. And now be it proclaimed that we, the members of the Cabarrus Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 to be National Donate Life Month in Cabarrus County, and urge our residents to give serious thought to the importance of eye, organ, and tissue donation, and to consider joining the North Carolina Donor Registry, and further to notify their family members that they have done so, adopted this 18th day of March 2024. Now, most of you, or at least a good portion of you, know that I am a recipient, heart recipient, and kidney recipient. The kidney was from a living donor. She's still living. It was a female kidney, and she's doing good. And, I seem to be doing okay too. Got some issues, but that's fine. But I had a heart transplant in 1995. So if the Lord lets me live until November, that will be 29 years on the heart transplant. So you can see that the heart does go on and life does go on. And, I'm just so thankful to be able to have served this county for the last 23 years. And it was because of the selfless act, of 2 different people that gave their life that I might have life. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve this proclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Hsu. Do I hear a second to that motion? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, item 3, we have Week of the Young Child proclamation, and Dr. Elise Pugh will present that.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to present this proclamation for the Week of the Young Child. Whereas the Early Childhood Foundation of Cabarrus County, along with the Cabarrus Partnership for Children, in conjunction with the North Carolina Association for the Education of Young Children and the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 6th through the 12th, 2024, and the Month of the Young Child throughout April. And whereas these organizations are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our state's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Cabarrus County, and whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth through age 8 who make a difference in the lives of young children in Cabarrus County deserve thanks and recognition, and whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society, now be it proclaimed that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 6th through the 12th, 2024 as Week of the Young Child.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion to approve as presented?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes, and Dr. Pugh will also present the Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation.
Thank you. Whereas children are vital to our state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, as well as being our most vulnerable assets, and whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster their healthy growth and development, and whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of life of a community, whereas communities that provide parents with the social support, knowledge of parenting and child development, and concrete resources they need to cope with stress and nurture their children, ensure all children grow to their full potential, and whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, human service agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the proclamation? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We move now to informal public comments. I think most of you are familiar, but each person will have 3 minutes to come to the podium, and if you would identify yourself and your address when you come to the podium. Our first card is from Jerry Anderson.
Jerry Anderson, Kannapolis, North Carolina. I'm saying Mental Awareness Month is in May, and my daughter had mental problems, but evidently everybody was unaware of it, but they shouldn't have been. That's why I brought her to Cabarrus County DSS, to make them aware and to get help. And this was hidden. And we got a prosecutor sitting back here begging for his job. That prosecutor didn't even know who he was prosecuting. I bet if he knew he was prosecuting my child, who was totally mental, schizophrenic, he would have had a lawyer on her side. But he sat up there with a judge that he worked with. Ethics don't seem right, and he's going to come up here and beg for his job. I don't know why it was took off the agenda, but we just come to say no, Jay White. No, Jay White. I wouldn't be here today probably if it wasn't for Jay White. No, Jay White. He don't deserve nothing else. We need to go in-house like they suggested, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of ethics involved, and we don't need no outside. That's a scandal been going on for 8 years. We got scandals going on right now. We got a scandal going on with a person, and I won't say that he's prosecuting in DSS and an ex. And he's doing ungodly things to this person. The scandals keep going on. I was up there court watching, and lo and behold, Jessica Bridges was there. The same person that started this, and the same prosecutor there, Jay White, still going on today. Y'all can't tell me why y'all took my child. Good chance she's right here could tell you why. That she was untrained. She didn't get to the right place. She was untrained. You cannot take our children. We love our children. Anybody has a child, we love our children. Don't take our children wrongly. My child taken on a Saturday night, crazy. They abused my child so much, the mental child, that she was in the hospital when they come and took her child. How can this be? Y'all talk about mental awareness month. Why didn't y'all aware of my child?
Okay, our next card is from Jeter Anderson.
Jeter Anderson, Kannapolis, North Carolina. I don't want to waste no time. Jay White's got to go. To have a contract attorney, what if he hurts somebody? What if he kills somebody? And you contract him out? Well, it should be every bit of in-house. If you got to pay the extra money for the extra few lawyers and the paralegals, yeah, that's more ethical. It seems more right than having a big conflict of interest. How many law firms does this guy have? 3? One in the court building, one right there, and one down there. Go in the clerk's office whenever he wants. Can my attorney go in the clerk's office whenever he wants? This is a big conflict of interest in this county, and nobody can use this court system. Mike Downs is not supposed to have anything to do with this court system, but it has everything to do with it. And as for my sister being abused and neglected and exploited, she was. I just want to know why this evidence wasn't considered at all. Who wanted her child so bad that they would do anything to somebody to take her? Who hired that person? Who contracted that person? Why is it okay to contract somebody to hurt somebody? How do you contract somebody to hurt somebody? Well, I think you can talk to the county manager about that. He knows all about contracting people out that hurt people. My sister was hurt, abused, neglected. And she was the most caring person you could ever meet. Very caring. She cared. She cared about what you needed. She cared about how you sounded, what you looked like, how you felt. And I try my darndest to bring this trait back, but I can't bring nothing back because y'all taking it away wrongly. So if you can't bring our child back, go in-house. Don't let this happen to anybody else. In-house is a good start. That's a good start to our DSS. You show me a county that contracts their lawyer out, I'll show you a county with DSS problems all around. I promise you that. Do it how it should be. In-house attorneys at your DSS. and the problems. We can fight them. We can fight fairly. We can't fight fairly with a county attorney that's also a private attorney in our area that walks freely in this building. And I was just joking about moving your DSS over in that building, but basically it is, isn't it?
Okay, our next card is from James L. Campbell.
Good afternoon. I'm James L. Campbell. And first of all, I want to give praises to my Savior, Jesus Christ. Commissioners and you so-called leaders of Cabarrus County, what is it going to take for you to realize that you do not represent the best interests of your citizens? None of you take accountability for the injustice that everyday people like myself endure. Elise Pugh, your assistant county manager, and Mike Downs, your county manager, met with my wife and myself on December 23rd regarding DSS illegal seizure of our 4 children on August the 7th. Until this date, nothing has been done to bring our 4 children back. Mike, you're quick to say that you don't know what's going on. Elise, you too busy want to quote policy that doesn't exist. Across the street, you have corruption and collusion with attorney H.J. White, whose contract does not need to be renewed. Across the street, you have corrupt judges like Christy Wilhelm, who need to be off the bench. Across the street, you have DSS workers working, lying in petitions like Jessica Killian. You have corrupt people that work with the Guardian ad litem program like Faith Williams, corrupt people like Danny Frady. They know the truth for why these children should not be taken, but instead of telling the truth, they write petitions and put lies in front of a judicial system that's supposed to be free for all people. Cabarrus County, it's time for change. None of these so-called leaders represents the common Cabarrus County citizen. You so-called leaders, you so-called attorneys and judges, we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. It is time for these chickens to come home to roost by any means necessary.
Our next card is from Megan Henderson.
Good evening. I am Megan Henderson, and I'm a resident at Cabarrus County and have previously been a guardian ad litem for children in foster care in Cabarrus County, and I've now been a foster parent for Cabarrus County Department of Human Services for over 5 years. I've recently been made aware of the department's proposal to host in-house attorneys rather than to continue their contract with Hartzell & Williams. As a foster parent who has had numerous children in and out of my home over the past 5 years, this concerns me greatly. I have 5 children that live in my home, 1 who is currently in the custody of CCDHS, and 4 who have permanency through adoption because of the way that Jay White and his team have advocated for them throughout their years in foster care. I think it is of the utmost importance that you recognize that these are real children and that this decision impacts. If you heard their stories and knew their names and saw their faces like I do, I promise that you too would be passionate about Jay White remaining the advocate for those within Cabarrus County Child Welfare System. Most of the children that have come through my home now have permanency through reunification with their biological families, legal guardianship, or adoption, largely because of Jay and his team advocating for their individualized best interest. The truth is that many of my children would likely still be lingering in the child welfare system should they have been born in any of our surrounding counties. I've had children in my home who have experienced more in their short years than many adults could even fathom. This is not a place that we should be looking to slightly conserve money, even though I do not believe restructuring our legal staffing for CCDHS would be of any financial benefit. The turnover in our child welfare countrywide is considerable, and sadly, it is to the detriment of our nation's children. Adding in-house attorneys to CCDHS would likely add to that cycle rather than provide a source of stability like Jay and his team have been for the past 10 years. Over the past 5 years, I've watched the staffing within CCDHS Child Welfare Division fluctuate and change on numerous occasions. However, Jay White has remained dependable and consistent. In my opinion, this is a completely unnecessary and unwarranted change. I would urge you to please consider what is at stake here. These children who I know and love, children who are the absolute most vulnerable in our county, children who I've seen Jay White advocate for fiercely. Should attorneys be hired in-house for CCDHS, it would take months, but likely years for the new hires to really get a solid understanding of the current ongoing cases, creating longer timelines to permanency for our county's children who are currently in foster care. Meanwhile, children continue to enter into the child welfare system each month, contributing further to the overwhelm of the system. I deeply appreciate the work that Jay White and his team put in for our county's children, and I hope and pray that they will still be able to continue the job that they have done so well for the past 10 years. Thank you.
Our next card is from Morgan White.
Good evening. My name is Morgan White. I'm a resident of Cabarrus County, a current Cabarrus County foster parent of almost 4 years, an adoptive parent of 4 children that spent time in Cabarrus County foster care. And I believe it is also important that I share with you all that at the age of 10, I was removed from my family and placed into Cabarrus County foster care. I would like for it to be known that I strongly oppose the idea of restructuring our county's DHS legal representation and think it would be a detriment to our county's children to implement such a drastic and unnecessary change. I urge you to consider that these are children's lives we are talking about. Hartzell and Williams, Jay White specifically, has served as a powerful and consistent voice for the children of our county, fighting for what is right, advocating for permanency through reunification, legal guardianship, or adoption, and consistently doing right by our children. That is something you cannot put a price tag on. I think it is important to mention in my almost 4 years of being a foster parent, I have had children come to me in the middle of the night, one child coming to me the week of Christmas. That should speak for itself that Jay and his team are accessible and willing to work at whatever time duty calls. This is something that I know is not consistent across our state. I have sat in court many times and can truly say I've never questioned if Jay would do what is right by our county's most vulnerable children. You hear horror stories about the legal staff of our surrounding counties' child welfare departments. That is not the case for our county. An entire new legal staff would come in and have to learn the stories and cases of over 200 children and stories that Jay and his team know by name. Turnover rates in child welfare are astronomical. We do not need more county employees that stick around for maybe 6 months. We need a dedicated team, which Jay and Hartzell and Williams have provided for 10 years. Please, I urge you to look at the statistics, look at the faces of the children this decision will impact, go to court and listen to the stories, listen to the urgency and passion in Jay's voice that is palpable when advocating for our children. Children just like my now forever children whose lives depended on Cabarrus County DHS and their legal team to make a decision that would further determine the course of their future. Children like my current foster son whose life is in the hands of literal strangers. What a terrifying reality for him. In my humble opinion, there is no better stranger to advocate for them than Jay and his team. They truly care, and that matters so much more than many of these other factors. Our county's children depend on someone to advocate fiercely for them. Jay and his team have proven their dedication. Please oppose this change. When something is not broken, like much of our child welfare system is, I believe it is important to keep the parts in place that are working well. Thank you for your time.
Okay, our next card is from Bonnie Gregory.
Good evening. Wanted to talk about the tax assessments that have recently been taken on homes in the Cabarrus County area. And I myself received my tax assessment, and it was $30,000 to $40,000 higher than Zillow or Realtor even said that the price on the home was estimated. And so I feel like the tax assessments are too high, and I would like you to consider reductions in tax assessments possibly. I don't know what kind of legal things have to be done for that, but I do, from what I understand, the tax assessments were completed 4 years before they were supposed to be legally done, and I disagree with that and felt like that should not have been done as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Our next card is from Neil Talley.
Good evening. My name's Neil Talley, and I'm from Kannapolis, North Carolina. As we all know, you guys, everyone here, prices on everything have skyrocketed. Inflation's gone up. My grocery bill, I know, is like 30% more than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Gas prices are up. If you bought a home or an automobile, It's astronomical out there, and it's hard to make ends meet now. Americans have the most credit card debt they've ever had in the history of this country, and that's because they're having to charge for necessary financial stuff. So I was wondering, when you raised the property values, did the revaluation, you did it in 4 years. You could have waited another 4 years, or you could have put it off a year to see what the housing market does. I've talked to some realtors, I've talked to appraisers, and they say the housing bubble is at the top and it's starting to cool off now. So if you'd have waited a year, it might have been better for us, or even 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years. But I just have one question, and I'd like to get an answer from it. Why?
Typically, we do not answer in public comments. This is the time for the public to speak to us, but I can answer that one for you. And certainly, I would recommend that you spend time with our tax assessor and go through the appeals process.
Yep, I'm
They
doing
can
that.
explain it more completely, but North Carolina state law dictates that in any time that property values in the county fluctuate 15% up or 15% down, then they send a letter that says you must conduct a revaluation within 3 years of that date. Our last revaluation was in 2020, and that letter from the state came in 2021.
Okay, thank you.
So that, you're welcome. Okay, our next card is from Laura Blackwell Lindsay.
Good evening, Commissioners. I wanted to let you know that while I was not in favor of doing the reevaluations when they were done, I have heard wonderful things about the tax assessor's office and how much help they have provided so many of our homeowners. I had an opportunity to host a reevaluation workshop a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, our current tax assessor, David Thrift, was not able to participate with our meeting, but he did provide some material for our residents. Since then, I have received many compliments and thanks for the material that was received, as well as the information that was given at the workshop. Several folks have reached out to say that their appeal and their tax value was lowered, some quite significantly. My hope is that with all of the community discussion on the reevaluation, you will significantly lower the tax rate to at least a revenue neutral rate or even lower. I am thankful for Mr. Thrift and the rest of the staff, though I'm sure it's been quite overwhelming with the amount of appeals that they have had to process. But based on what I've heard from others, they deserve many kudos for how helpful they have been. I will also add that I'm very grateful for the support that I've had over the last few months and want to remind everyone to please stay vigilant through the November general election. I look forward to my opportunity to work with the county staff after the general election and want to remind our current county commissioners that between now and then, please be honest and do the right thing by the people of Cabarrus County. We will be watching.
Okay, our next card is from Tracy Dry.
Tracy Dry, Reimertown. Good evening. I understand this is a time for public comment, and as such, you will not answer questions. Please consider any questions I pose to be for your consideration and answer me privately later if you choose. I believe most of you know how to get in touch with me personally. Property taxes are a major concern for the citizens of Cabarrus County. While I realize the assessor's office is responsible for setting tax values, your policies do affect those values. The amount of growth we have seen has artificially inflated sale prices of homes while straining our infrastructure, schools, and public services. Our property outside Mount Pleasant was valued at just over $22,000 per acre, yet on the other side of Mount Pleasant, the county recently purchased land for rate of $8,000 per acre. Can you explain to me why my land, the same red clay the rest of you have, is worth so much more than what you approved to purchase? Dirt is dirt. While God certainly isn't making any more of it, He didn't make ours special. It is disingenuous at best to expect the people to continue to cut their personal spending so the county can continue to spend and spend. I'd like to offer part of the solution. First, You lower the tax rate enough to keep tax bills where they were. That is your job right now. One way to accomplish this is cutting the county budget. I understand that can be difficult. Start with a 1% to 2% cut off the top, equally affecting every agency. Before you balk and tell me it will cause massive layoffs or cuts to services, remember this. We, the taxpayers who pay for all of this, have been told for years that the increases are just a penny or two on the dollar. We will never even notice it. Well, I put that back to you. It would just be a penny or two on the dollar. They'll never even notice it. Then tell county employees they cannot drive county vehicles for personal use. That is waste. And it's pure and simple waste and a responsible place to cut spending. Can you see the hypocrisy? Are you beginning to understand the frustration and mistrust of the citizenry? Trust is a fickle thing, hard to earn, easy to lose, and once lost, even harder to earn back. It is known that a certain member of this board has approached a member of the House to put forth a bill that would expand this board from 5 to 7 members. Said board member has historically been against expanding the board. This legislation would allow that board member who lost on primary day and the next highest vote getter, who happens to be a friend and voting ally, to be placed on the ballot in November. This is a selfish and childish attempt to retain power that the people clearly no longer wish him to have. A sneaky, underhanded power grab that would circumvent the will of the people and taint the legitimacy of our elections. Our elections must be conducted in an open and transparent way. Further, the outcome of those elections must be accepted, even by the candidate that loses. I've been on the side of candidates who won and on the side of candidates who lost. I've never known someone to stoop to such a low backdoor tactic. It is shameful, and it speaks to the character of the man who made the request. Thank you.
Our next card is from Rich Wise.
Commissioners, my name is Rich Wise. I'm a citizen of Cabarrus County, and I'm also a Midland councilman. Cabarrus County voters spoke loudly during a primary election early this month. Despite Chairman Steve Morris and his associated group spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants, text messages, and mailers, he lost. In fact, my longtime friend, and yes, I am very proud to call her my friend, Laura Blackwell, Lindsay, beat Steve by over 1,500 votes. And it was her first time running for the county commissioner. Laura was the top vote getter. That's called a mandate. And this was despite your friends of Quality Cabarrus trashing her and in a never-ending barrage of text messages and mailers. You've even trashed her about her breast cancer. What a new low, Steve. Both for you and your group. There is nothing quality about trashing Laura over something related to her breast cancer. And Larry Pittman beat Chairman Steve Morris. Larry won with hardly any campaigning and just a few $1,000s in the campaign contributions. Imagine if he put an effort into it. The voters want change, no doubt. I heard you talking to a local legislator, your good friend Kevin Crutchfield, specifically about special legislation language to put you back on the county commissioner despite losing your election. Steve Morris pitching a scheme to put himself back on the county commissioner after voters threw him out of office. That's going to be a huge scandal. Huge. Probably the biggest in Cabarrus County history. I can't wait to see it unfold. We might as well put the ballot boxes on top of the shredder and shred everyone's vote if you're just going to attempt to put yourself back into the office after losing your election. One legislator, not Kevin Crutchfield, called the scheme an underhanded workaround against the will of the people. Steve, you're not going to leave the office gracefully. You are going to cause a huge scandal on your way out. Steve, I know it's tough for you to accept, but it's time to bring out the fork and stick it in you because you're done. So, my last comment is, all you people who want to see change, I have a list of about 170 House and Senators' names that if you like to send them a message and tell them what's going on here in Cabarrus County so they could be on the short list, so they could be on the list to let the people know when the ballots come up in November.
Our next card is from Larry Pittman.
Good evening. I'm Larry Pittman. I live on Roberta Road in Concord. I just want to bring something to your attention that you may not be aware of. I'm going to assume you're not aware of. I tried to answer a survey from the Parks and Recreation Department the other day, and I'm sure if they'd have gotten it, they wouldn't have liked a lot of my answers. But the last part on there was a thing about stuff they want to do about parks and stuff, and it said, figure you have $100 to spend, and you go through these items, and how much of that would you put on these, and it has to end up with $100. I went through a zero on everything, so my total was $0 instead of 100, and therefore the system would not allow my survey to go back to them. Now, that kind of thing needs to be changed. That smacks of an elitist, don't care what the people really think attitude. It occurred to me that if that happened to me, similar things might have happened to other citizens. And I've always, my 11 years in North Carolina House, as a pastor, I've always stood for the rights of the people to be heard. And a survey that is set up in such a way that if they're not going to like the way you answer that stuff, they're not going to hear from you. That needs to be changed. I understand. I didn't do that last section the way they wanted it done, but the survey as a whole should have been able to send back into them. And I hope you'll talk to them and change that going forward. Make it to where when people have something to say, you hear them. Thank you.
Okay, our next card is from Wesley Honeycutt.
Wes Honeycutt from Midland. One of my favorite chapters in the Bible is 1 Samuel 17, David versus Goliath. As I was reflecting on this story this past week, something new jumped out. Each morning for 40 days, Goliath would threaten the Israelites. Goliath, from a position of power, used intimidation to paralyze them with fear. Goliaths come in all shapes and sizes today, whether it be a bully at school or a politician abusing power. When posts began circulating that there might be efforts to add 2 commissioner seats, someone posted on Facebook that she had spoken to Representative Kevin Crutchfield, and he said he was not aware of an effort to do this. I commented on that post. Kevin is definitely willing to lie. Remember when he said there wasn't a way to give back the PPP loan money he received? That was unequivocally a lie. He made this statement on video at the Midland Town Council meeting, by the way. Kevin responded with, I think it's time we meet face to face. First of all, I have no idea who you are. You're probably not even a real person, and you and I need to be face to face. Just let me know when and where. After I offered to meet him at this commissioners meeting, in a series of messages, Representative Crutchfield called me a coward 6 times, a fool, and an idiot, told me he wasn't unhinged yet, and that he had ran out of reason when I called him a liar. He told me he would find me on 4 separate occasions. He sent me a screenshot of my address from GIS saying location found once he figured out who I was. I told him that my offer to meet him at the commissioners meeting was still on the table, but he unfortunately was not welcome at my home due to his erratic behavior. He responded that I gave up the right to determine the time and place when I brought his family into it, which is something I did not do. He, however, brought my family into it with his threats of, I will find you, as I don't believe he meant he would find me and take me out to lunch. An associate of Kevin said I was going to awaken a sleeping dragon and to keep my eyes open because he was looking for me. He was upset about a video I shared on my page that someone else had made regarding Kevin's PPP loans and some land acquisition that took place after those that were forgiven. I'm nobody special. I'm not the only person to call out one of Kevin's lies, but for some reason he zeroed in on me, and I'm thankful. I'm not afraid of people like him. God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. For those of you who hold political power, do some reflecting. Are you, like Goliath, trying to lord your power over everyone? Or like David, are you willing to defend what is right in spite of the adversity you might face? As representatives, you are to represent the people, not the Eli Lillies of the world. We tried to tell you last meeting, and you spat in our faces handing out more incentives. And in spite of all the deceptive mailers filled with half-truths, the people rejected this quid pro quo regime that has been running Cabarrus County. I tell my kids often we should stand up for what is right, even if we're the only ones, and no matter what it costs. That is why I will continue to speak out. Goliaths are bullies. They're prideful. They make threats day after day. But the problem with choosing to live like Goliath is that eventually God sends a David.
Our next card is from Amy Palacios.
Amy Palacios, and I am from Harrisburg. So I'm standing here today. I honestly don't care if there's 5 county commissioners or 20 seats. That has nothing to do with what I'm here for today. It's more justice. Jay White has way too many positions. He has, his own law firm. He's over DSS. He's over DSS child support. He's over the county contract. He was over the school board. He uses his positions of power in way too many ways. He is the top county the county defense lawyer in the county. And even personally, I've been greatly affected by that. My husband beat me up, dragged me, tried to kill me, and Jay White deemed him in and out of competency 3 times in 3 years, and then tried to make him be over children. He currently has a supervised visitation order, but Jay White, in a 6-month period of time, got 3 financial orders. One for me to pay the man that beat me up and was in jail for 6 months, $70,000. Another to pay Jay White himself, $30,000. And another to pay my first ex-husband that I had joint custody with for over 8 years, $2,800 a month because I made 3 times what he made. This man has extorted me. He has not just done this to me, but a lot of people in this county. He has created fake paperwork. He has taken things out of files. Even a month ago, I was taken to court. I paid this astronomical $70,000, but then told if I don't pay $5,000 to Jay White right now today, I'm going to jail by Judge Knutz, indefinitely until I've given him this money. And then right after that, they told me that I have to pay the other $25,000 in 30 days. So it's extortion, it's abuse. He needs to stop wearing so many hats. I ask right now that he has a Damascus moment, that he turns from Saul to Paul, that he becomes a person of accountability, that he does his job. The people that are up here saying nice things about him are being paid $800 a kid to hold these kids in their house. So it's a human trafficking scheme to take kids. I've never had my kids taken from DSS, but I'm a part of a very advocacy, and there's a lot of children that are being taken, and each child that's put in foster care and group homes, they're being paid $800 a kid. The state is being paid.
Okay, that completes all the cards that have been turned in, and so we now move to the consent agenda. Items on our consent agenda are ones that were discussed at length at our work session 2 weeks ago. And Commissioners, you have the list before you. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We move now to new business. First is our Economic Development Grant Program Policy. And Commissioner Meachmer, I think you requested that item.
Yes, so at our work session, this item, well, the agenda, it was placed under the consent agenda. I pulled it off the consent agenda just simply because I can't vote for it. I know that we have each, we each know how the others feel. We each know how each other feels about the EDC policy, and so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We've been around this carousel. I had originally wanted this item. I had originally wanted to set up a committee to look into this policy more in depth, and that did not pass this board. So that was a moot point. But we had already tabled this at that point. So I guess this is a formality to vote on that. The reason I pulled off the consent is just as I simply do not support the policy. So with that being said.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, does anyone else have any discussion on this item, or do you wish to make a motion in regards to it?
I don't want to make a motion, but I just want to make a comment that, we hear about the incentive packages all the time. I personally think we need to have a policy, but that doesn't mean we have to pass everything that comes through. I mean, I think we're at a point in this county's situation with growth and with schools that, we may need to take a time out a little bit and be very cautious on what we do going forward. Like pump the brakes is another phrase I like to use, but I think we need a policy. It just doesn't mean that we have to pass everything that comes through.
We don't pass everything that comes through. These come in our closed session, and we give the guidance to Paige and the EDC on which ones that we want to approve and which ones we don't. And that's why the ones that come here for public comment are the ones that we have given guidance on, that those are the ones we're interested in pursuing. There's been several that we have turned down. So obviously the ones that come in front of us, most of us are in favor of, because the goal is not to publicly humiliate a company in front of everybody. The ones we turn down, they still have that opportunity to build. It's just we don't give them that incentive. I agree we need a policy, but I did want to clarify that we don't approve absolutely everything. It's just the ones that come here for the public comment are the ones that we've given we haven't voted on them, but we've given guidance that we'd be in favor of them.
So since I've been on this board, I was sworn in December of 2022. A lot of these incentives are discussed in closed session, the potential ones that are coming our way. And as I said, since December of 2022, there has only been one that I'm aware of that this board has said no on, and that was because they favored another company to go into that area versus the one that was proposed. So I'm sure there may have been other ones before our time that we were sworn in, but since I've been here in December of 2022, there's only been one instance, as I mentioned, that we turned down, and that was because the EDC favored one company over the other and wanted the other company in that location. So, we, as I said, I'm sure we'll have more times to discuss this throughout the year as more of these come before us, before a new board sworn in.
I thought it was two, but can you explain why the EDC would favor one company over the other?
I would defer to them.
If I remember correctly, it was more jobs for a lot more money that were competing for the same spot, if I remember correctly. Is that correct, Paige? Not to put you on the spot, but if I remember correctly, it was significantly better opportunity.
I think that specific one that we're thinking about, I don't think anything has actually even come there yet. So I don't think there's been any decision about a company.
And I understand that, but to sit up here and say that the EDC favors the way that's painted makes it look very slanted, in my opinion. And to me, you know, it is what it is, but when we get to choose between two different opportunities that are better, to phrase it that way to me is a little unfair.
I understand what you're saying, but, you know, whenever a company is given the green light in a certain location and the other company is not, that is simply favoring one over the other, in my opinion. That's the way I see it. And also too, I mean, you know, these tax breaks that are given to these multi-million-dollar and multi-billion-dollar companies, they're being favored over the local taxpayer. And so that's my number one issue with the policy.
And you and I have talked at length, and I respect that. We've talked at length, but it's also, those are two totally different things. When we look at an economic development grant, they're bringing in jobs, they're bringing in money. To say that we're favoring that over people that are asking, that's two different things. You know, I respect your point, and I understand it, but it's two different things. You know, they're bringing in hundreds of jobs and everything else. And I just like you said, the moot point with, I did an incentive presentation. I'm not going to go back over it. We'll just agree to disagree, but.
Well, first off, we don't look at every economic development package that comes in. We only look at what our EDC department brings to us. They have vetted it. They have talked with the CEOs and the principals of those companies. And in some cases, the incentive never even comes up. But in cases like that, we would have no reason to talk to those companies because they're not asking anything of us. But if they do ask something from us, those are the ones that the EDC department brings us. And then we meet and we talk and we look at the advantages and the disadvantages of bringing that company here if it will help them get here. And there has been cases, I've been on the board now since 2014, and there has been a number of cases that we said, no, we didn't want that. They could come if they want to, that's no problem, but we're not going to incentivize them to come. And then another thing, you know, you guys talking about choosing. We don't choose. We look at what we're brought, and we make the decision whether we're going to incentivize, and that's the extent of what we do. We don't choose. Of course, I have to admit, though, land management and land planning is very important. You don't want to put a certain thing in a certain area that's out of place. But first off, they're not going to bring that to us to start with. I mean, I've got confidence in our EDC department that they only bring us things that they feel like are suitable, and it's something that we can do to help them get here, to bring the jobs to Cabarrus County. And obviously, Chris and I, you know, we have talked about this, and ain't no need to keep beating a dead horse. I'm on one side of the fence, and Chris is on the other side of the fence, and that's fine. But there was a time that Cabarrus County was closed for business. I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want to see that happen again. But, you know, anyway, I've been doing the best that I know how to do to educate people on the incentive packages and about the EDC all these years, and then you're still going to always have people that think the other way, and that's fine. We're supposed to be able to agree to disagree and move on. That's the way I look at it. But, you know, with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve the EDC package that we have, because we've compared it with other counties, and we're as comparable or as competitive as any of the rest of them. And if you're going to be in the ball game, you got to have some type of a policy and you've got to have a program to go by. So I'll make a motion that we approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do I hear a second to Commissioner Shue's motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. That motion passes 4-1. We move now to reports. First up is to receive updates from commission members who serve as liaisons to municipalities or on various boards and committees. Does anyone have anything tonight? Yes, sir, Commissioner Workman.
Wanda Strong with Active Living and Parks wanted me to say that the Wednesday, the 20th, is the Health and Wellness Expo at the Arena. It is from 10:30 to 2 p.m., and that is a free event to the public.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll move to general comments by board members. Does anyone have anything there?
Just one quick thing, since
I
three
think
of
your
us up
mic
here-
did not turn on.
Just one quick thing, since three of us are alumni from Central Cabarrus High School, want to congratulate the Vikings for another championship, and I hope they can keep doing good, making us proud.
Thank you for those comments, and I will echo that and say that we're also collaborating with the City of Concord to create some sort of a celebration event, much like we did last year for them when they won the state championship there. So this is one of our best jobs, is to be able to celebrate the good things that are happening with the youth in our communities. Are there any other general comments? If not, we do have need of a close.
I have one.
Okay.
I was just, we heard several speakers tonight about revenue neutral. In our last work session, this board unanimously gave guidance to move forward for $9.5 million for our sheriff's office. So that's going to be on top of what revenue neutral is. And there is a write-up in the Independent Tribune for $2.6 million for the classified staff of Cabarrus County Schools that they'll be asking for as well. That $2.6 million will equal to a half a cent approximately on top of whatever that tax rate is. So I just wanted to put it out there that since we heard several comments, those are already decisions that we're looking in the future for, and this board gave guidance on that at our work session 2 weeks ago. We've not met about the school budget part, but I just wanted to put it out there since we have quite a few people here.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we do have need of a closed session. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A4. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes, and we are now in closed session. Thank you all for joining us tonight.